When the Buddha taught, "You are your own teacher," he subtly reminded all beings of the innate strength within themselves, the self-reliance, and personal responsibility required to maintain happiness and inner peace. This is not just a simple piece of advice, but a profound philosophy, a guiding principle for the journey towards truth and enlightenment. Especially as one approaches old age, this teaching becomes incredibly significant, for it is a time when one needs to reflect on their life, seek tranquility, and prepare for the final steps of their human existence. Old age is often described as the golden chapter of life, not because it is glamorous or radiant, but because it is the stage where the soul has been refined through the ups and downs, much like gold purified by fire. During this time, individuals have a precious opportunity to settle down, reflect on what has passed, contemplate the true values of life, and clear away the clutter in the mind to find peace. However, much like taking care of a garden, the purity of the soul also requires nurturing, maintenance, and protection from harmful elements. In the garden of the mind, the seeds of compassion, wisdom, and happiness must be watered with attention and patience. At the same time, we must be careful with the relationships around us, for not all people nearby bring positive things. Some people may serve as sources of inspiration, motivation, and spiritual support, helping our souls to be nourished and grow. But there are also others, whether close or distant, who may become the cause of frustration, stress, and drain our positive energy. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness, sati, is an essential element in maintaining inner happiness. Mindfulness allows us to clearly recognize the influences from the outside, distinguish what should be kept and what should be let go. This is especially important as we grow older, for at this stage, the human mind is easily affected by negative emotions such as loneliness, anxiety, and insecurity. When the Buddha taught, "You are your own teacher," he emphasized that every individual has the ability to self-awaken, to free themselves from attachments and suffering. No one can replace us in our practice and in our search for peace. This becomes even clearer in old age. If we do not take care of our own soul, no one else can bring happiness to us. This means we must carefully choose the relationships we maintain to avoid negative influences on our minds. Family, friends, and social relationships all play important roles in each person's life. These relationships can serve as great sources of motivation, helping us overcome difficulties and find joy in life. However, if we are not careful, they can also become burdens, sources of stress and discord. Especially in old age, when strength diminishes and the spirit is more easily shaken, it is crucial to select appropriate relationships. In life, we often cannot avoid encountering negative people, those who bring sorrow and suffering. The Buddha taught that in life, maintaining a pure mind, free from being contaminated by negative energy, is of utmost importance. Therefore, recognizing and avoiding relationships that may harm our soul is part of the path to practice. It can be said that old age is not only a time for reflection and rest, but also a time for practicing letting go, for releasing what is unnecessary. Just as one prunes dead branches in a garden to allow the plants to thrive, we too need to let go of unhealthy relationships so that our soul can find peace and tranquility. Thus, when we fully understand the teaching, "You are your own teacher," we realize that happiness is not something that can be found outside ourselves. Happiness is the result of practicing mindfulness, nurturing the soul, and making the right relationship choices. In old age, when reflection and the search for tranquility become the primary goals, maintaining a clear and peaceful mind is the prerequisite for achieving true peace and contentment. 1. The exploiter. Imagine a peaceful afternoon, where you are immersed in stillness, enjoying each moment of tranquility, when suddenly you receive a call from a loved one. At first, with compassion and affection, you are more than willing to help. However, over time, the requests become more frequent and increasingly burdensome. You begin to feel the pressure, the peace disrupted, and your goodwill exploited. Exploiting individuals are often very skillful in drawing upon our compassion and empathy. They know how to target emotional vulnerabilities, making it difficult to refuse their demands. This exploitation, if left unchecked, will gradually drain our energy, spirit, and sometimes even our trust in others. In Buddhist teachings, recognizing and handling relationships like these is not just a part of mindfulness, but also a way of practicing true compassion. The Buddha taught that compassion is not about always agreeing or helping unconditionally, but knowing how to do what is best for both oneself and others, avoiding actions that may cause harm. Setting boundaries is an act of compassion. Boundaries help protect the purity of the soul, keeping the mind undisturbed by negative influences. When we say no with compassion, we are not only protecting ourselves, but we are also helping the other person recognize their own limitations, not encouraging dependency or exploitation. Setting boundaries does not equate to selfishness or a lack of love. On the contrary, it is an expression of wisdom and discernment. When we know how to refuse skillfully, we are practicing deep compassion. This is compassion with discipline, ensuring that kindness is not abused and the mind remains unharmed. In daily life, maintaining compassion while setting boundaries is a great challenge. We often worry that refusing will hurt others, causing them sadness or harm. But the Buddha taught that compassionate refusal helps both parties recognize the truth, helps the other person become self-sufficient and not reliant. There is a story in the Buddhist scriptures about a monk who was continuously asked for help by an exploiter. The monk, with compassion and wisdom, helped but also knew when to stop. He taught that helping others is good, but if such help harms one's own peace and fails to foster the other's self-development, then it is not truly compassionate. Setting boundaries also helps us avoid negative karma. When we help unconditionally without considering the consequences, we may unknowingly create negative karma for ourselves and others. Therefore, mindfulness in action is of utmost importance. Compassion with boundaries is an art that practitioners must learn and practice daily. It is a balance between compassion and wisdom, between love and discernment. When we achieve this balance, we not only protect our own peace but also help others realize the value of self-reliance and the importance of not exploiting the kindness of others. Thus, recognizing and avoiding exploitative individuals is not selfishness, but an act of compassion and wisdom. It is how we protect our souls, preserve our peace, and simultaneously help others realize the necessity of self-reliance, of not exploiting the kindness of others. This is the path the Buddha has shown us, the path of mindfulness and compassionate wisdom. 2. The self-satisfied one. The Buddha teaches that true connection arises from deep understanding and empathy between individuals. However, in the reality of life, not everyone possesses the ability to maintain such understanding. Some people, often caught up in their own personal needs, become self-satisfied, losing sensitivity to the emotions and thoughts of others. They dominate conversations, using others as mere mirrors reflecting themselves, failing to realize that genuine relationships are an exchange, not merely a validation of one's self. The self-satisfied individual often does not listen. They focus on highlighting themselves and their views, always trying to prove their knowledge, experience, or success, without considering how the other person feels. This is a manifestation of a large ego, an ego that has not yet been tamed or subdued. In Buddhist teachings, the ego is the root of suffering. When individuals cling to their ego, they live in delusion, unable to see reality as it is. The self-satisfied person, overly focused on themselves, not only harms others but also harms themselves. They fail to realize that self-satisfaction is a form of ignorance, preventing them from approaching truth and wisdom. In dealing with the self-satisfied, the Buddha teaches us to cultivate patience and deep self-awareness. Patience is not passive endurance, but an understanding that everyone has aspects of themselves that need improvement. Patience allows us to maintain calm and compassion, without letting the actions of others disturb our peace of mind. Self-awareness is also a crucial element in dealing with the self-satisfied. When we are self-aware, we recognize that everyone has their own flaws and strengths. This helps us avoid being drawn into negativity, and not be affected by the words or actions of the self-satisfied. We learn to maintain balance in communication, not getting caught up in the whirlpool of self-satisfaction. In the scriptures, the Buddha often speaks about practicing mindfulness in speech and action. Mindfulness helps us become aware of what is happening in the present moment, preventing us from being swept away by negative emotions. When facing the self-satisfied, mindfulness allows us to remain calm, not reacting impulsively, but responding with skill and compassion. There is a story in the Buddhist teachings about a monk who encountered a self-satisfied person. This individual constantly boasted about their knowledge and achievements, without regard for others. The monk, with mindfulness and compassion, did not argue or try to prove himself, but quietly listened and occasionally asked questions to prompt the other person to reflect. Over time, the self-satisfied individual began to notice the emptiness in their words and gradually changed. Self-satisfaction is not only a personal issue but also affects relationships and the community. When one person is self-satisfied, they create an unhealthy environment, where communication becomes one-sided and lacks empathy. This diminishes the quality of relationships and creates a sense of distance between people. To maintain balance in communication with the self-satisfied, we need to practice both compassion and wisdom. Compassion helps us refrain from judgment and view others with understanding and empathy. Wisdom allows us to recognize the nature of self-satisfaction, ensuring it does not influence our mood or actions. The self-satisfied person needs help in realizing the truth about themselves and from there, making changes. Our patience and compassion can become a mirror that illuminates their path, helping them see their shortcomings and move towards self-improvement. This is the path the Buddha taught, the path of awakening and liberation, where everyone has the opportunity to realize the truth and live in peace. 3. The critic. In life, no one is immune to criticism. Criticism, especially when it comes from loved ones, can become a source of suffering, shaking our confidence and causing us to doubt ourselves. Those who criticize often use sharp words to point out our mistakes, shortcomings, or decisions, disguised as helpful advice or constructive feedback. However, if not delivered with care and consideration, such criticism can become a double-edged sword, not only causing harm but also diminishing our self-esteem and belief in our own abilities. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of speech in maintaining relationships and inner peace. Words can be a powerful tool for conveying love, empathy, and mutual support, but they can also become a cause of division and suffering. When faced with criticism, it is crucial not to let those words control our emotions and state of mind. In the scriptures, the Buddha teaches, "No one can harm you unless you allow them to." This means that true power lies in how we respond to criticism. When we listen to criticism with a calm and composed mind, without reacting in anger or defensiveness, we preserve our peace and clarity. We can use this opportunity to reflect on ourselves honestly, distinguishing between constructive criticism and criticism born of negativity or envy. Constructive criticism can be a valuable gift if we know how to listen and learn from it. It helps us become aware of flaws we may not have seen, allowing us to improve ourselves and progress on our path of practice. However, not all criticism comes from good intentions. Some criticize to diminish others in order to elevate their own ego. In such cases, we must remain mindful and avoid being pulled into the vortex of negativity. The Buddha taught 4 types of speech: truthful speech, beneficial speech, pleasant speech, and timely speech. When faced with criticism, we should ask ourselves, is this truthful? Is it beneficial for my growth? Is it pleasant and timely? If the answer is no, we should know how to let go and not allow the criticism to harm us. Letting go in Buddhism does not mean neglecting or being indifferent. It is an attitude of mindfulness and acceptance of the truth as it is. When we release negative emotions, we free ourselves from the suffering we create for ourselves. We learn to live with serenity and tranquility, unaffected by the words of others. There is a story in the Buddhist scriptures about a man who came to the Buddha and continually criticized him. The Buddha listened calmly and did not respond. When the man asked why the Buddha did not react, the Buddha replied, "If someone gives me a gift and I do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "It belongs to the one who gave it." The Buddha continued, "Similarly, if I do not accept your criticism, it will belong to you." This story teaches us a valuable lesson about non-reactivity and letting go. When we do not accept unreasonable criticism, we preserve peace in our hearts and do not allow negative words to harm us. At the same time, we must have compassion, understanding that the critic may be driven by their own suffering and ignorance. However, this does not mean we should completely ignore all criticism. We need wisdom to differentiate between constructive and destructive criticism. Constructive criticism should be received with gratitude and a willingness to learn, while destructive criticism should be met with compassion and patience. To deal with criticism, we need to practice mindfulness and compassion. Mindfulness helps us become aware of our emotions and reactions, preventing them from controlling our actions and words. Compassion helps us understand that everyone has their own struggles and suffering, allowing us not to judge or blame them. The critic, whether intentional or unintentional, should be approached with compassion and understanding. When we face them with calmness and kindness, we not only protect our inner peace but also help them recognize the nature of their criticism and, from that, make changes. This is the path the Buddha taught, the path of enlightenment and liberation, where everyone has the opportunity to realize the truth and live in serenity and happiness. 4. The irresponsible person. An irresponsible person is one who refuses to face and bear the consequences of their actions. They often rely on others to solve their problems, creating a cycle that leaves those around them feeling exhausted and frustrated. They may promise to change or improve, but such promises are seldom fulfilled, leading to a loss of trust from others. In life, everyone may face difficult times and require help from others. However, the irresponsible person often exploits the kindness of others to avoid taking responsibility for themselves. They fail to learn from their mistakes or the consequences of their actions, leading to repeated negative behaviors. Continuous help given to them, if not offered wisely, can prevent them from learning and growing. Buddhism teaches that compassion is not merely an act of assistance but requires wisdom and balance. The Buddha taught about compassion combined with wisdom, meaning knowing when to help and when to allow others to learn from their struggles. If we constantly rescue the irresponsible person without allowing them to take responsibility, we inadvertently harm them by obstructing their development and growth. The irresponsible person does not only affect themselves but also causes trouble for those around them. When they fail to complete their tasks or evade responsibility, those around them often have to take on additional work or endure the consequences of their actions. This creates an unhealthy environment where people cannot grow or work efficiently. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility and learning from mistakes. We are taught that each person has their own karma and must be responsible for their actions. Learning to take responsibility is an essential part of the path of practice and self-development. If a person refuses to learn from the consequences they have caused, they will be unable to progress on their spiritual journey. For those around an irresponsible person, compassion must be accompanied by mindfulness and wisdom. We must know how to set boundaries and say no when necessary. This not only helps protect ourselves but also encourages the irresponsible person to recognize that they need to change and take responsibility for their lives. In the scriptures, the Buddha teaches that every person has the ability to change and improve. However, this change must come from within and through awareness of the consequences of one's actions. When we confront the irresponsible person, we must maintain compassion but also not allow them to take advantage of our kindness. We must help them realize that personal responsibility is a crucial part of maturity and happiness. Compassion does not mean condoning wrongful or irresponsible actions. Instead, compassion requires us to know how to offer help wisely and with balance. When we help others, we should do so with the intention of helping them become better and learn from their mistakes. If we simply rescue them without encouraging them to take responsibility, we are not truly helping them but only causing more harm. Ultimately, for the irresponsible person, learning to take responsibility is an essential part of their growth and self-development. Buddhism teaches that every person has the ability to change and become better. We need to help them realize this and encourage them to take responsibility for their lives. This will not only help them become better but also create a healthy and harmonious environment for everyone around them. 5. The ungrateful person. In life, helping and supporting others often brings joy and meaning. However, not everyone appreciates what they receive. An ungrateful person is one who does not recognize the value of assistance, often taking the good actions of others for granted, without acknowledging or expressing gratitude. This not only hurts the person who has selflessly helped, but it also creates an unbalanced relationship, lacking mutual respect. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of gratitude and respect in relationships. The Buddha once taught that gratitude is the foundation of genuine connection and an essential element in creating a happy life. When we receive help from others, gratitude is not only a sign of respect but also a way to nurture lasting relationships. An ungrateful person often fails to recognize the value of help, perhaps because they are accustomed to receiving without giving in return or because they have never been taught the importance of gratitude. This results in them continuing to take without offering anything in return, creating a one-sided relationship. The helper in such a situation will eventually feel tired, hurt, and may lose motivation to continue offering support. In Buddhist teachings, gratitude is considered a necessary quality for inner peace. The Buddha frequently encouraged us to cherish and be thankful for those who have helped us, for gratitude not only makes others feel valued but also helps us live more mindfully and meaningfully. For the ungrateful person, we must approach them with compassion but also with clarity. Compassion does not mean accepting all acts of ingratitude without response. On the contrary, we need to know how to set clear boundaries. If the relationship becomes one-sided, with no appreciation or reciprocity, it is time to reassess and possibly redirect our kindness to those who truly appreciate and are grateful. Buddhism also teaches that gratitude is not merely a display of appreciation but a concrete action. When we are grateful, we should express it. through our words, actions, and attitude toward life. This not only helps nurture relationships but also allows us to grow in humility, respect, and learning from those around us. An ungrateful person not only harms those who have helped them but also harms themselves. By failing to appreciate what they receive, they cannot develop compassion, empathy, or humility. They are also more prone to feelings of loneliness and distance, as they lack genuine, lasting connections with others. Buddhism encourages us to practice gratitude daily, not only toward people but also toward all the beings and circumstances around us. This helps us live mindfully, appreciating what we have and acknowledging those who contribute to our lives. Gratitude also enables us to face difficulties and challenges more gracefully, for we understand that everything in life has its own value and meaning. When encountering the ungrateful, we should not let pride or hurt dominate our minds. Instead, we need to remain mindful, understanding that not everyone can recognize or express gratitude in the right way. The important thing is not to let their behavior diminish our kindness and compassion. However, we also need to protect ourselves, ensuring that we are not taken advantage of or harmed. Gratitude not only helps us live better lives but also spreads positive energy to those around us. When we express and live with gratitude, we encourage others to practice gratitude as well. This creates a healthy environment where everyone appreciates one another and grows together. In conclusion, the ungrateful person presents a challenge in life, but it is also an opportunity for us to practice compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom. We must know how to approach them wisely, not allowing ourselves to be hurt, but also not losing our kindness and compassion. In doing so, we can maintain balance in our lives and nurture truly meaningful and lasting relationships. In each person's journey, old age is not just a stage but a significant chapter where we seek peace, reflect on life, and embrace the deepest values of existence. Buddhism teaches that distancing oneself from those who bring negativity is not an act of selfishness but a wise choice made to protect our inner peace and to honor our own spiritual path. Old age is often compared to the autumn of life, when the leaves turn golden, preparing for their final release. At this time, we are no longer bound by the ambitions and worries of youth. Instead, we adopt a slower, more serene approach to life. However, in order to maintain this tranquility, we must be careful in selecting the relationships around us. Buddhism emphasizes that each person is an independent being, with the ability to self-regulate and protect the mind from harmful influences. Avoiding negative individuals is not a sign of selfishness or avoidance of responsibility, rather, it is a way to preserve inner calm and serenity. When we allow ourselves to be affected by those who consistently bring negativity, unrest, and negative emotions, we unintentionally lose the peace that we have worked so hard to cultivate. In Buddhism, the concept of inner freedom is highly valued. It is a state of mind where one is no longer bound by worries, suffering, or any external factors. To achieve this, we must learn to let go not just of material possessions, fame, or external attachments, but also of relationships that do not bring positivity, those people who do not contribute to our spiritual growth. The Buddha once taught that a happy life is one that is balanced with healthy relationships. These relationships are not only about giving, but also about receiving. When we choose people who bring joy, tranquility, and motivation into our lives, we are creating a healthy living environment, where every day is an opportunity for reflection, learning, and growth. However, not everyone easily recognizes the necessity of this. Some may think that distancing themselves from negative people is an act of self-isolation. But in reality, it is an expression of compassion and self-respect. We cannot help others if we ourselves are immersed in suffering or anxiety. Only when our hearts are truly peaceful can we radiate positive energy and support those around us effectively. Building meaningful relationships in old age not only brings joy but also helps us find empathy, sharing, and mutual support in our final years. These relationships are the foundation of a happy life, where every meeting, every conversation brings value and meaning. In Buddhism, joy is not simply the temporary satisfaction of the senses, it is a mental state where we feel serenity and peace in our hearts. It is the joy of letting go, the satisfaction with what we have, and the gratitude for what life has given. When we live in peace and tranquility, we not only enrich our own lives but also contribute to the enrichment of the lives of those around us. In conclusion, old age is a time for us to stop, reflect, and seek peace. Avoiding negative individuals is not just an act of self-protection, it is also a way for us to respect and preserve our spiritual journey. We should choose relationships that bring joy, serenity, and meaning, as these are the foundation of a happy and fulfilling life. Buddhism teaches that everyone has the right to choose their path, and the right choices will lead us to a life of peace, happiness, and deep meaning.